Okay, Tess, so first of all, my purpose of this video is to give you the middle part of my program because you've already done a good job of writing the first part of it, which is the games, but let me just run through the games and why we do the games before we get to the real purpose of the video. So number one, Tess, confirmation on a horse and pedigree. So getting proven mothers, as they have found in the racehorse business and in the barrel horse business, seems to be more dominant than the fathers. But that being said, so doing a little research, and you can't make a silk purse out of a pig's ear, right? So starting with the right product, number one, it makes your chances better. So I guess when we get talking about confirmation and pedigrees, we're just trying to lessen our chances of failure. So that being said, Christy, if you come over here and we'll just take a look a little bit, we'll show the side angle of this horse's. So like this horse here is a little bit thick in here, so usually it all ties in. So if they got a real slim throat latch and not a heavy neck, narrow in the shoulders, long underline so they can reach with their feet, short top line, and hip, this is their motor. So this nice big strong hip. Is this horse conformationally look like he's going to be easy to carry himself? Not so much. He does feel athletic. So anyways, that's just a little bit there. Getting the right pedigree and confirmation to start with is, getting the people to help you that are good at that kind of thing will lessen your chances of failure. Okay, so from there, now we're gonna talk about when I come in. So when I come in, it's normal for horses that if they're uptight in their mind, then nature is for a horse to run away from you. When they run away from you, their head goes this way, their ribs come into you, and number one is, so when they're close to you, they can kick you. All their arc is going to be going that way. But so that's when I come in, is I have to try and change this arc. I want this horse, as we work on draw, getting a horse to draw towards us, liking us. When they don't like us, the arc changes the other way. Why does that all matter? Because when I'm riding this horse and I want him in balance so he can be athletic, if he's traveling to the right and his arc is to the left, he's out of balance. His feet are in the wrong place, and it's a fight the whole time to get them, and you have to hold them in the right arc to get them balanced, to be athletic. And when it gets down to competition, you can't be holding them in a competition when the clock is on thousandths of a second. They have to be running freely in balance and know their job. So knowing what the end is, confirmation, balance, the right attitude. I guess the attitude comes, the mental comes before, right? So when the mental comes before, that's the groundwork. So here's the groundwork. Let's just say that I've rubbed all of these zones, right? Horses, not scared of us. There's a lot more to it like that. Again, this is phase 4, the stick and string. So, watch his expression. See, when his head starts to raise, and I'm just playing the friendly game, right? But you can tell right away, because I haven't done this for a while with this horse, because I don't need to, but you see how his head starts to raise? Well, if I'm riding him and that same thing starts to happen, his head starts to raise, then all of a sudden I've got this mind that's a little bit stiff and I've got this body that's stiff, right? So it starts here on the ground, because this is just an extension of my arm, this stick and string, right? To try and keep this mind quiet. Okay, so that's the friendly game. Then we go to steady pressure. Steady pressure. Why do we have steady pressure? Because when I'm up top, I'm going to have to be pulling on reins and saying, go this way, go this way. So we start on the ground where we can manipulate this body around in, you know, and I haven't done this to this horse probably in 4 months, right? But he's feeling a feel. So I've operated and left and right side because of the video, and this isn't the main purpose of this video, is the games. Left and right side, he's feeling this feel, right? And the phases, hair, does he move it hair? Oh, he did, right? If I had to go to phase 4, which is pick it up, see, I had to move the stick into phase 4. Okay, so that's steady pressure. Rhythmic pressure. Rhythmic pressure is, so he is, rather than following a feel, now he's following a vision, right? So can I operate these hindquarters around with a vision and a suggestion? There's no feel to this, right? Can I make him go sideways with a feel, a suggestion? I want these hindquarters square. Okay? Not great, but again, purpose of the video. So that's rhythmic pressure. And then comes, them are the primary games, and then these are the purpose games. So now that I've got that, so here's the yo-yo game, backwards and forwards. All right, and this has got feel to it, right? The heavy shank, there's feel to it. Okay, so then we go from there to a circling game. Now watch, he's on his own here. Watch the arc. Is his arc looking towards me, or is it looking towards home? So these are before I climb on the back. See how his arc's looking towards me? Then his feet are in balance, and he can make the circle. If it was the opposite, he'd be leaning, looking at his friends, there'd be pressure on the shank, and I'd have to hold him in the circle. Game number 5. Right? And then can I get him to come back to me? The draw. The draw. See? And the rhythmic pressure game to step back is a driving game. So if I didn't have this horse friendly with me, number 1, and I didn't do the steady pressure, kind of which is the getting the horse to draw to me, like me, before you start driving him, then all of a sudden everything that he's always wanting away from you, you got to kind of want him on top of you at first, and then you can start driving him away from you. So that's the circling game, and then there's the sideways game and the squeeze game. But for the purpose of this video, just to give you a little bit of why do we do there's a mental connection here. That's the ground stuff first, the respect part, right? Okay, so then when we do that, now we're going to start to move on to the emotional part, which is the mind does it want to get away from us, or does it want to attach to us, right? So I'm going to stick some so here we go here. So we talked about in the first part confirmation and pedigree, ancestors. What have they done? Are they winners? All right, and then we talked about, you know, a scared horse, the bend being in the wrong, going the wrong way, and the drive and the lateral lunging, right? Because that's called lateral. Why is it called lateral lunging? And again, anytime that, stepping back to the games again, that you can get a leash on them, a line on them, you're far better off. The people that put them in a round pen, it takes 10 times the knowledge and 10 times the feel in order to get things to happen. So we put a leash on them first. Does it make sense when you're teaching a dog to go away and come back if you had a leash on them first before you started turning them loose and trying to do it without a leash? So that's what lateral lunging is we have a line on them first, right? Okay, so now getting to we're starting to want to get on their back, right? So to speed up my program compared to other people's program, I'm already starting to work on their mouth. So the whole talk about horsemanship is this is the bottom line, Tess, is that you need to be able to pull on two reins and get a horse to do this. See how if you were to have a bridle in my mouth and you were to pull on two reins, how it lifts my neck up and lifts my back up, and look at the weight come off of my hands and my feet. But if I'm like this and wanting to do the opposite, look at, I got all the weight on my feet. So that's the whole thing about this horsemanship, is to go through the mental, go through the emotional, and then the physical to where when I pull, I get a response and I can get this horse athletic on the feet to be competitive. All right? So that being said, I'm already starting in my program to work on the arcs and teaching these horses to follow their nose. So here's a little arc to begin with, which is called a long flex, because the neck is flexed a long way. You see how he's following his nose? And this rein is reasonably limp. So he's saying, I don't want to lean on that bit. Ooh. That's all for now. That's called the long flex. Now let's go to a short flex, because the neck isn't flexed as much. And now we're going to put him out here on the leash. And we're looking for him, just like I was riding him, to not push on that bridle, move around here, go forward. Before I get on, learn how to follow your nose, learn how to stay in balance. And I'm not the bad guy up there pulling on him. See, these reins are tied back and he's pulling on himself. As long as I don't keep him or get him emotional, then he can think about how to get off of this bridle. Ooh. Okay, so that's left side or right side, and the other side you do the exact same thing. Okay, so then we go from there. Now it's time to ride. As we're progressing in this second part of our program, and I'm just going to take a look. Now I'm on the back, and you still have to carry the respect part, the mental part on the ground up onto the back, keep it intact. But first of all, we have to work on flexion, right? I'm going to have to bend the head and the neck for a while in order to operate the rest of this stuff. So I need him to be very flexible up here so I can start to operate this stuff. Okay? The next part is focus. focus and horsemanship, in the end, when you look at my focus and look how, if I want to go to the right and I change my focus to the right, look what it does to my body. So if I look to the right, it puts this knee in, it brings this back a little bit, so it opens the door, closes the door, just because of my focus, that a horse starts to get in tune to that. It might take a couple years, but when these horses get down to competing for hundreds of thousands of dollars, they don't have time to be pulling on this stuff. And that horse is following their focus and their feel. Focus gives you feel, feel gives you timing, timing gives you balance. So if I wanted to operate the hindquarters, look at me step the hindquarters under, and then if I want to operate the forequarters, look at my focus. All right, so I'm going to start establishing them aspects of my horsemanship before I even start to head out. So there we have, again, focus and body positions. Okay, rein positions. So what are the rein positions to operate the body? Lots of people, I don't see any definite rein positions what they're doing. So when I do an indirect rein, look at knowing that this rein here is going to operate this hind leg and this front leg. So when I stick this pinky under like this, it pushes this hind leg out over there. When I turn this pinky up, it starts pulling on this front leg here. So just knowing rein positions that operate the right body parts is key, and following them to a T all the time, all through your program. Right? Indirect rein. Balance, my body getting off the hind end so the hind end can move, and then getting on the hind end so the front end can move. Follow my focus, move this front leg, and then supporting. So the outside rein here, if we do this without moving, would be indirect rein, moves the hind end, then back of my pocket's direct supporting rein. I suggested, and then I support it with this hand. So we have an indirect rein, a direct rein, a supporting rein, 3 rein positions. Then we have a casual rein. So if I'm just riding along, casual rein means just casual. If I pick these reins up and use 2 reins are for communication. So now I start communicating to my horse. As you can tell, now it's like attention, like in the army. Okay, march, or left, or right, or back, right? But you have to go through lots of training before we get hanging the pictures on the wall, meaning you build your foundation, and then you put the walls up, and then you start to hang the pictures on the wall. This is hanging the pictures on the wall. This is our ultimate goal. And what people get stuck in is they start seeing Joe riding over there, and they say, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, just like my golf swing. I'm seeing what professionals do, and I'm trying to do what professionals do before I do the exercises to get to the professional level, and it all goes wacky. Same thing here. So now we got our rein positions. Casual, we've added, and a concentrated rein. But we also have added in here for green horses, this is a control rein. So if my horse was running off, most people are under the influence that you just kick a horse to go and you pull on 2 reins to whoa. And if you do that, you're just going to come up with mediocrity in your results, because your horse is not ready for that. So at first, you're going to control your horse with 1 rein. If I pull this side away from the horse, that side can keep going, but at least it's in a circle. You can pull on 2 reins and they can keep going. They get strong because it puts power into their hindquarters when you pull here, and they can lunge forward. So understanding that at first, I'm going to start pulling on 1 rein on a colt, okay? So now we've gotten to Then we're going to work on some flexion moving forward, getting one side at a time with arcs. Okay, following the nose. Okay, so here's the other thing. When people are under the influence that you just kick a horse to go and pull on two reins to whoa, there's no feel in this. So this is really important. Watch how I squeeze with all four cheeks and we're off. And then I release the pressure. Right? Right now, I'm not going like this. I just squeeze and then I release some of the pressure. Okay, that's my forward. All right, so Kirsty, you can kind of come out just a foot or two in here. So now we're going to start working on arcs. So I'm pushing this horse forward, over top of that bridle. My hand at first is fixed like it's tied to a fence post, and I'm driving him forward with my leg over top of that bridle, getting him soft on one side of the mouth at a time. Okay? You do that at a walk, but now you want to, okay, kind of pass that test. He's not emotional, is he? He's not running out from underneath me, and he's not unemotional to where he's not moving. So now let's pick it up to a trot. Keep driving forward till I get some kind of softness. Let him go. Keep driving forward with my body. Some kind of softness, let go. And you watch here, this horse is pulling on the bridle right there, and he's not real balanced and almost stumbling on the ground. Right there, when I pull on him, he's got to keep driving with his body, not throw his head in the air, and get some kind of softness. And he isn't passing this test very well. I've been riding this horse for 2 years. Okay? Because that's the same arc I'm going to need as we take off here on a big circle. So now we're going to start talking about my circles. When you watch here, when he gets towards home, and Kirsty, you can make that bigger and smaller as I get farther away by pinching it. So if you would stand probably in the middle of my circle, right up top here.
Okay. How's here? Is this good?
Yes. And then be good at pinching it or bringing it in and out.
My shoulders are sore.
See there how that horse is going off the grass? Pull on a direct rein and push with your body through the middle of the bullseye. So I'm not holding them. See, this is how most people would ride. See, they hold on to these reins, and when they hold on to these reins, they can't feel any body parts that are leaking one way or the other. When I turn them loose like this, I can feel the body parts. So that shoulder's going over there. And I'm going through the middle of the bullseye. There's my hat. That's the middle of the bullseye. Now he kind of falls in, so I need to lift him up, drive his butt into his mouth, and that stands everything up in the middle. See how his head gets straight? Pull and push through the middle. I didn't go on that side of the hat. I'm building a fence out here. Now we could do it at a canter. Let him go. Let him make the mistakes, leaking in or out. You see how he has an arc then start mixing the third part of my program, the flexion part, in with the emotional part. Indirect rein, keep driving him forward. And he gets that natural arc to stay in balance. He gets away from home here, drops his shoulder because he wants to go home. I'm pushing with my body. And I get to mix some flexion part in with it. There's not a lot of flexion, but there is. My concentration is just building this round pen like he's in a ring, even though he's not. See how these reins are slack? It's like go ahead and make the mistakes. I'm not going to prevent you from making the mistake. Drop the shoulder. I get to lift that shoulder up. Then I get a step or two. Let it go. You do it and you do it and you do it. They drop to the inside. I lift it up and push. Just do it and do it and do it. Drop it again. Maybe move it out a little bit now. He was going towards home, then here's a direct and a support, and a little indirect coming through the middle. Now this horse is more advanced, so I'm going to tell you why you do all this. What if I wanted to do a little circle? Don't get in a hurry and go out in a circle. See, I'm going to need him to be athletic at speed in order to do this event. Direct rein. Come back to me. Indirect rein. Direct rein. Come back to me. Direct rein. Indirect rein. Come back to me. Indirect rein. Direct rein. This is the barrel pattern. Come back to me. See how athletic he needs to be for that? So there we have the circle, which is the emotional part. Does my go match my woe? Is he trying to get away, or does he not want to get up into the gate? Lots of them, some of them too, don't want to get up there because they get scared with speed and they don't know what to do, and they have a poor guide up here. So they get unemotional. They don't want up into that gate. So there is flexion, a little bit of part 3 mixed in with part 2. We're actually done. Is when I come through the middle. This is what I don't want. If Kirsty's the middle, when I come through the middle, I've given myself a direct rein, but I don't want my horse coming through with a drop shoulder like this. So when I pull through the middle, I'm pushing and lifting that shoulder because I'm coming through the middle, just like there's a barrel there. If I go like this, I'm going to crash the barrel. So when I come through the middle, this is a really sophisticated move. When I come in here and he's falling towards home and I give a direct rein, I got to push and lift his front end up, just like there was that move for that barrel right there. So that's the only thing I'm going to add in that I couldn't really say while we were on the move. For right now, Tess, we're going to come back some other day after we see how you put this in writing. And and do a lot more. Now we're gonna, then we're really gonna have the middle part down, the emotional part down. Then we're gonna do lots of flexing, exercises, cantering squares, doing straight lines, counter cantering, because we're gonna need all them kind of moves for this barrel pattern. So let's see what you get done out of this, Tess. Thank you.
Bye.